I'm Anna Hulton. I'm an artist living in Loveland, Colorado. In this video, we're going to dive into the wonderful world of sketching and creating a pattern for abstract landscape embroidery. So grab your materials and let's get started. So during the pandemic, I took lots of walks to get outside and to be around people I loved without endangering them. And on one of these walks, we were walking through this beautiful park and it was spring, and I looked and there was just the most beautiful landscape. The thing that caught my eye about this were these flowers, which are actually a type of weed. They were flowers sort of moving off into the distance, and I really liked that visual interest. And I liked the lines created by the grass, and then I really liked the trees in the background. So I snapped a picture of it, and it was probably 2 years later that I created a piece from this. So you never know when you're going to use your inspiration, so always take pictures of it. When I'm looking at a photo, I sort of think through it in visual parts or compositional elements. And I like to think about things that are going to create movement in my piece. And I like to sort of pick those out to create an abstract landscape. I'm going to use this piece of mylar to show you how I see that happening. When I look at this, I say, oh, there's these sort of flowers moving. That's going to be one of my visual elements, one of my compositional pieces. Okay, there's one of my compositional elements are these flowers. Another is this grass that I see. Another huge compositional element is always our horizon line coming across here. That's something that we need to have. The other thing that caught my eye were these trees. I'm going to flip this over and show you. These are my basic compositional elements. I have movement created with the flowers. I have some texture with my grass, a horizon line, and some trees. Now the trick is, how are we going to take these to create a compelling composition? As an artist, it's important to have several sketches that you're working from. We call these thumbnails. So we're going to create several thumbnails before we create our final sketch. I like to use an embroidery hoop, a small one, to make a few circles. So now we want to figure out how are we going to make this look interesting in here, in our hoop. I always start with my horizon line. And then I like to think of my piece as having movement, right? We want the viewer, the person looking at our piece, to look around the whole thing. So how are we going to start them from the bottom and go upwards, and from up back down? What I'm going to do is start placing some of my flowers maybe, and say, oh, what if they can lead us over to our horizon line? And then what if our trees can help us come down? And maybe the grass here is going to lead us back down to our flowers. Now we have a circle going. That's what I look for in my compositions. When I create an abstract landscape, I like to have negative space around it. So we're going to create another thumbnail here with our horizon line. Let's see what happens if we start with our trees. And remember, this is really basic. It's a thumbnail. It can be really basic. And then what happens if we put our flowers here and we start them small? And what if we make them bigger as they get closer to us, like this? And then what if that grass is sort of here? And what if we have a negative space between that grass and the trees that kind of leaves a space here but still leads the eye up? Now I can look at my two compositions and say, I'm happier with this one. So now I'm going to create a more detailed sketch for this one. I'm going to take a slightly bigger embroidery hoop and trace it. And we're going to start with our horizon line. This time I'm just doing a little bit more detail for my trees. I'm looking at the trees here and trying to mimic some of their shapes. Now that I know where all of those compositional elements are going to land, I can start adding a little bit of detail. I do want some of these trees to sit on the horizon line, and then I want some to sort of travel down. Then I'm going to start adding my little flowers. As you can see, mine is sort of mirrored from my photograph. My flowers are starting here and circling down. These ones just kind of go up in that direction, and that's fine. You don't have to follow your photograph exactly. You're just taking compositional elements from your photograph for your abstract landscape. I like to say, where are my flowers going? And then fill in from there. I want them to land here, so now I can sort of just fill in that path. When I'm looking at my photograph, you can sort of see these different areas of grass sections. You have this one that's pretty smooth, and then you have a section here without flowers, and then you have the section with flowers here. So I sort of want to recreate those sections in my final piece. So we're going to create sort of concentric circles, almost half circles, coming up to our horizon line to show those sections. Now, when I am stitching, I am going to have some of these sections be satin stitch, and some of them be roving wool, and some of them be watercolor. Those elements are sort of laying down the foundation for our piece, and then these compositional elements will create that movement on top of them. You can add color to your final sketch to sort of work out how you want the color to look. You don't have to do that, but I did take the time to do that to show and try out where I wanted all of the colors to be and to make sure that this composition was really working. I used watercolor to create the color composition for this piece. And there you have it. Remember that practice makes perfect, so don't be afraid to experiment and let your creativity soar. If you want to enhance your skills and dive deeper into the world of contemporary embroidery, I invite you to join my online course on Domestika. It's packed with comprehensive lessons and insights that will take your embroidery journey to the next level. Thank you for joining me, and happy stitching!